You're here. There was a delay.
I'm here. Yeah, that was a strange little glitch in the matrix there.
Yes. Do you have the rains as well?
Yeah, it's absolutely end of the world here.
Right.
Yeah.
The same here.
Yeah.
It really feels like the end of the summer.
Yeah, with a spectacular end, sadly, unfortunately. We've had a good run, but
yeah. I'm I'm so disappointed. Maybe that's why there was a glitch. Maybe the interwebs are being affected by the heavy rains.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. I'm really not happy about it. But yeah, you're right. We had a better summer than last year, so that's that. At least August was a bit better.
Yeah. Can't complain.
Oh well, man. Okay, I think we'll need this.
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
Man, episode 150.
150. Wow. Yeah. And again, I'm sorry for my intermittent appearances of late, but Vinod has done a fantastic job of adding some fantastic stories and insight and personality. So I appreciate that. I've enjoyed listening to them, frankly.
No, thank you. And yes, you're sorely missed, but I understand you're very busy. You're producing so many attachés, man. It's that's why. I mean, that's your main job now. But yeah, no, it's I miss you as well. I mean, we've been doing that for now I cannot say we've been doing that for 150 episodes. I need to remove the few that nearly. So yeah, it's I would have never thought. I think we said that at a 10-year episode as well. Never thought we'd have gone to 150.
Yeah,
makes me feel a bit old.
Yes. Yeah. Likewise.
Slightly. You posted actually. What was it? Maybe was it on YouTube or maybe on your Instagram of Attaché, like the picture of you when you recorded your first Paris and then the Paris you've done. Man, we've changed.
Yeah. Age is a relentless march, unfortunately.
Well, you're aging gracefully, man. Come on.
Well, that's kind.
That's true.
Kind. I said to somebody recently, like fine wine, and somebody's from not even somebody I know. Somebody at the next table said wine turns to vinegar. All right, point taken. But it was fun to go back and do Paris after almost exactly 10 years and see how much the city's changed and see how much we've changed as well.
I enjoyed that episode, guys. If you, of course, know, everybody knows that Alex produces and hosts and does everything with Attaché, besides, of course, the filming and the editing and all the magic that is the hard stuff that is Greg. But yeah, that was a nice vignette to see because I still remember the first one, and you could see that how also production values have not turned into vinegar, and how even your cadence and your delivery were more affirmed than it used to be. So it's
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been fun.
You've grown into the job of that Sherpa. I know you don't use the Sherpa thing at the beginning anymore, but you've grown into it.
Thank you. No, we've had fun. It's 10 years of that, and hopefully I would be getting slightly better at it as we went along, or at least finding a rhythm that suited us. But that's very kind of you to say that, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah. So, guys, if you haven't yet, please do subscribe to Attaché the same way you do subscribe to this show. And, as every show, let's play the music for Again Can I. So this is not going to be an episode where we reminisce about the past. First, because, as we just said, it would make us feel old. But also because we like to look forward to new adventures. But to the past, I had shared with you this link the other day, Tickets to Everywhere, that website. So it's a project by Christian Knoll. I was an editor of the website and the project called Direction of Travel. I subscribed to the newsletter. This is why I was alerted to this new project of his. How would you describe it? Is it like a bit of an exploration of years past of airlines history? Yeah,
it's like a little time capsule. It's this beautiful, interactive experience. I mean, we don't do that anymore. When the web was in its infancy, everything had to be something else. It wasn't just a web page. There was a sort of
Yeah.
metaphor to the navigation, and this has kind of brought that back. And it's this exposition of travel agencies and airline retail, really, from bygone years, but also overlaid over the present. And the map feature, I don't know how much time you spent playing around with the map feature.
A lot.
But it's got, what is it, New York, London, and Paris?
Paris, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This sort of Google Maps-esque interface where you can see over the decades where the various ticketing offices were for the airlines, and who occupies the building now.
Now, I love that, actually.
Yeah, it's so clever. So you could look at the 1960s and you could see all of these airlines and where they had their ticket offices, over to the 1970s, and you can see, oh, well, that airline's gone and this airline's taken its place. And I think obviously now ticket offices are a rare species.
Oh, you can see the dwindling numbers. I mean, the heydays were clearly in his. So he doesn't cover, guys, and I'll put the link in the show note. It doesn't, and I promise I will, it doesn't cover all the airlines, but it covers, like you said, for these ticket offices, only 3 cities, but, like important cities because they had a lot of agencies. I think New York had probably, so London had like 36, I think, if I remember, agencies in the 60s, and there's like 7 now.
Yeah.
And Paris is a similar number. It went from, 30 to maybe 4 or 5. And New York was also high 20s to almost nothing, also 4, I think. But it's also, some of them have pictures of how they looked like.
Oh.
And for instance, the Air France ticket office in New York in, I want to say the 70s, looked absolutely incredible. And when you look at some of the pictures are not included, but you can go on Google Maps and look at where they are. Like you look at, I don't know, Philippine Airlines in New York, which is, I didn't know that Philippine Airlines still had a ticket office. It's basically, there's no front. It's basically a door and there's probably an office. So there's not the grandeur of these ticket offices, these
Which
airlines.
was basically a showroom, wasn't it, back then? Because there was no other way to really buy. I mean, there were other ways to buy the tickets, but this is where the selling was done. This is where you pitched your airline versus the other airlines that were serving the same route as well. And we don't need that anymore, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame, yes. I was about just to react to what you just said, because in London, I'm pretty sure Emirates has a showroom you can sit on the seat. I don't think they have the first class, but they have a premium economy seat, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure about a business class seat. So they still... Qatar does it, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm sure that Air Liban, so Middle Eastern Airlines, still has an office in London. Still has a storefront, ticket office. I don't think they do so. But in New York, because I passed in front of it, Air France still has a tiny ticket office, and there's also a seat. I remember.
I think when your hard product is a differentiator with someone like Emirates or Qatar or even ANA these days, it does make sense to, if not have a permanent installation, something where you can show that off. I know that, were you there when ANA unveiled their new business and first cabins? They did something in London.
No, but I think you went, right?
I went to the previous generation one, but they did one last year, I think, and Lufthansa do it. I think it's a good idea. It's a good idea to do it in a retail environment as opposed to at a trade show where, and that's
professionals.
Exactly. But it's such. I don't know how you said you found that website or how old it is, but man,
brand new.
It's
because
so
again,
good.
he was on his newsletter. He's a newsletter. The guy, Christian. I don't know him personally, but man, you're doing such a great job. I should subscribe. But I should say, I'll put the link in the show notes. I should say you can subscribe to the free newsletter, but there's also like levels of subscription, or at least one level of paid subscription. And I think it's because the work he put into that website to have not only documented, but also the way it works. He works much better on the desktop, guys. And also because he requires the desktop to see the breadth. And I will come to the second part of the website in a second, which is even better on the screen, on a big screen. The work he's put also in the coding of everything, and by himself, I think it's just incredible. And the design he chooses, that almost retro future design, like all these airlines were using back in the day, because of course flying was something for the future, is also very well chosen. He has a very great taste for design. So it's a beautiful website. And the second bit is these airline routes.
Yes.
So you can check the airline routes. So there's BOAC in the 50s. I think there's Aeroflot in the 60s. There's JAL in the 60s. There's Varig. I don't know why I have this special. I've flown Varig once, maybe. Have you flown Varig ever?
Nope.
As a kid, I remember at least for sure, I was at JFK in 1980, exactly 1980, because we spent a few months in the US with my parents. And on the way back to Switzerland at JFK, and you know, it's like these kind of memories when you're 5, you don't remember everything, but you have like flashes of some stuff. So I remember Disney World, obviously. And I remember like a Ray Manta in Florida. And I remember a Boeing 707-300C, I guess. That I would have known when I was 5, guys. It's just because after the fact that I checked from a window at God knows which terminal, and it was Varig. And for me, I don't know why we sat there because it didn't have a lounge or anything, and I saw it for maybe it's just 10 minutes, but in my mind it feels like hours. And I have this memory of that Varig 707 imprinted in my mind. There's
something rather. I don't really know what the word is, but it's such a. For me, having I only went to South America for the first time 4 or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. It seemed so exotic and remote, this idea. And I, for some reason, having basically lived at Kai Tak Airport for most of my teens, those Varig DC-10s, they were so much more than an airplane. They were just this unique and rare exotic bird from an exotic land that just seemed that much out of reach that I would never get to experience it.
That was that promise with
exactly.
Yeah. Maybe also because the days were different. We were not flying like, every weekend somewhere, right? Maybe you were more exposed to flying because of your dad's work. But for me, going to the US was once every, like intercontinental was, I did it as a kid thrice maybe, so the rest was driving a car in Europe, right? And maybe in Finland we did once with a car, but I think we were flying probably Swiss Air back in the day. But and the DC-10, you said for Varig, the DC-10 and the 707 were their two main workhorses for intercontinental, long-haul travel, let's say, before the introduction, I think in 82, 83 of the 747, I want to say. There was and so going back to the map, there's also Air Afrique, Iran Air, and I think there's Singapore Airline as well.
Singapore Airlines, JAL,
it's really and the route maps, guys, includes the technical stops. Something we don't know anymore about.
Yeah.
Though there's maybe a story about a technical stop later in that podcast. So we'll see about that. But so you can see the origin. Of course, BOAC, I think, was it grandmother? Did she not do these flights where she would go?
BOAC and Imperial Airways. I'm obsessed with all that stuff. So,
right.
These types of things are just the manifestation of my kind of nostalgia. I love them, and I can't reiterate what you said enough of how beautifully it's put together and lovingly. Frankly, this is somebody who clearly this isn't just a technical analysis of old airline routes. It's a love letter to kind of that era of travel, which I just I admire.
Yeah, I admire. I will say the website out loud is tickets.directionoftravel.com. So tickets.directionoftravel.com. But I'll put the link in the show notes. Besides, first, I fully agree. I have this, it's not even nostalgia because it's from an era that I didn't live through. Nostalgia usually kind of invokes something that you've lived as a young person. This is pre-existing me and pre-existing you. But with ties with the families, I have pictures of airports in family albums. My father, before he married my mother, was flying, and I have these pictures in old family albums of airports and airlines. And I'm like, almost like I want to live that
Yeah.
era.
Oh, I know. I'm totally with you there.
Right? So and he captures that also with the design of it. And so back to the technical stuff, just because I have to do it. The one, because I obsessively checked every single, route network of all these airlines that he presents. Again, guys, there's not all the airlines. There's like a selection of airlines, maybe because he was able to find it. He used that based on the route map, the paper route map that he found, because on his newsletter, he actually shows his paper route maps. It is very linked. He loves that very like 50s, 60s, 70s eras of air travel. And the one stop, which I don't think BOAC was using, because BOAC was using like Karachi and all these places. But the one stop in Europe that a lot of airlines seem to have used as a technical stop was Frankfurt. And good, because why would anyone go through that airport? They would just stop for a technical stop, but they would not.
They'd never leave.
Never leave. So a new destination for this 150. Alex, you went to a new airport that I've never been to, with an airline that I've used, through an airport that I know. So I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. Remind me to come back to, there's a book, I think I recommended it
Go ahead. Sorry.
to Mark when he, either during or after the podcast. I need to go back and find it. But it's this beautiful book of airline route maps of bygone, like not just like, look at this pretty map, but sort of analyzing it and looking at how they've evolved and how they display ever more complex networks of routes, and the technicals and the seasonals and all of that. It's beautiful. I'll dig it up and
maybe just send me the name and I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah,
even if we don't have the title on the air, so that people can check it out.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I love this. I love these type of. I know.
If I was allowed to, my walls in my house would be absolutely covered in those things if I could find some originals. They're works of art, frankly.
I have the same with all, because as you know, I love my photography with especially pictures of cities, how they look back in the, again, post-war era to basically the 80s. And yeah, I have the same. I could lay down everything.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous. So I would definitely. Oh, it's called Airline Maps: A Century of Art and Design.
There you go. I haven't.
There you go.
I should.
Mark Ovenden. Yeah, it's a beaut. So no, I did. I did go to an airport I'd never been to in Constanța in Romania. Yeah, I've been to Romania before, and as I discovered recently at your celebrations, that was the last time I saw Matt Drinkwater in person, which was nearly 10 years ago. We shared a cab from the airport, I think, and that was the last time I saw him in person, was in Bucharest.
Oh, was it for this conference, How to Web?
How to Web, that was it, yeah.
Right.
Well remembered.
Back book done. Guys, this is very... inside baseball right now.
Very esoteric. Sorry, but yeah, that's so. It was lovely to catch up with Matt, who certainly puts my travel to shame these days with some of his adventures.
Right? He just flew because he's still in Australia. He just flew that famous Qantas London to Perth.
I know. I can't wait to hear more about that. I told him. I said, please come back and tell us what it was like.
Yeah, that's. He told me that was his longest flight, and I said, well, the longest flight would be the way back, because the way back is actually longer than the way. And then he flew to Adelaide, I think. I'm not mistaken. Brisbane,
I think Brisbane. Yeah,
Brisbane. So,
but very sensibly took a few days in Perth to kind of get his sea legs, which. I'm very interested, because he's a very much a seasoned traveler, obviously. Yes. And I'm very interested to hear how someone with his pedigree endured it, and whether he would recommend it or whether he would endorse some kind of stopover on the way. So I'm looking forward to hearing about the experience.
He told me, and that's the only thing, and then I'm not going to, because maybe I'll just invite him. He told me that he slept rather well. He said some things about the product, but let's not reveal anything here, because he might actually come on one day, which seems to be, because I was like, a jet lag is a bitch, because I remember last time, and I did a stop. I was flying Etihad, so I did a stop. and I was really jet lagged. And I fought it because I was only staying for 4 days. So he's less sensible than him that actually adapted. But he didn't seem to. It was just a day he landed. He said, "No, I'm fine." I'm like, "Yeah, wait for it." So I don't know. Maybe he hasn't have any jet lag effect. I still think there's no way to completely avoid it when you do these type of distances.
No, I don't think that there is. I saw my brothers last night, and they both said that from London is the worst jet lag they've ever had.
Yeah, for me it was that was almost like completely opposite. Almost you want to sleep throughout the day and wake up during the night, which even in places like Tokyo, which is far away from where we are, it's not that. There's a few hours kind of you fight. But anyway, Matt, you'll have to come to tell us all about it, and also that internal flight you did, because he still has the summer. Obviously, the southern hemisphere, we don't. Matt, do not come back to miss your flight. Stay a little
Just at least a week. Check the forecast before you come back.
So I'm guessing going to Constanza was not that long with not that much jet lag. However, the routing. How was finding a route to go there?
Well, yeah, when this gig first landed in my lap, I had a look at the options, and they were limited, and seasonal, and not particularly helpful for the London airports. It turns out actually that Wizz fly from Luton to Constanza direct. And the timings, there was just no way it was going to work for me with my...
Plus Luton, for you, Luton even more than for me, going from south of London to north of London, you basically are more in a car in a train than you are in a flight. I'm exaggerating a bit maybe, but yeah.
It's not as bad as Stansted, but it's certainly not convenient, and certainly didn't warrant even considering it, because they don't do it daily, and so they didn't fly back on the day I needed to come back.
So Constanza is not a big city, maybe for context?
It's big-ish. It's on the Black Sea. Yeah, right on the Black Sea. Directly east of Bucharest and directly north of Istanbul. So it's
and also north of Varna, I guess, in
almost directly. Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
Bulgaria, because that's in Bulgaria, and that's it used to be the most famous seaside resort for Bulgaria. It probably still is. Of course, lost a bit of shine because of international tourism and people flying everywhere. But so it's the same situation. So it's a seaside resort.
Resort that fell on hard times, but is going through a substantial revitalization project that's been going on for quite a few years now. It was very interesting to learn about it on the ground there and kind of walk around and experience it. And you could see both why it needed revitalization and the product of that revitalization project. But eventually the option that became blindingly obvious was Turkish via Istanbul. And I was working through the event company, who were in turn working with a travel agent. So I sent them the flights that I wanted, and it was Gatwick, Istanbul, Constanza, Gatwick, Istanbul, Heathrow. And I picked the Heathrow return leg because I wanted to try. I'd never been in wide body business class on Turkish.
Oh yeah, that's only few flights per day. You need to know which one you want. Yes,
and I picked it with the 777 on the way back. And,
I didn't know that. Lucky you.
Well, this is 2 months before the conference, and which was in June. And as the conference got closer and closer, and life was getting busier and busier, and the roadworks on the M25 had not come to their ceremonious conclusion, I just said, you know what? I'm getting too old for this. I'm just gonna go back to Gatwick. Gatwick is close to my house. It doesn't really matter if I don't get to experience the 777. It's fine. I'd rather just get home and be done with it. And
I understand, man.
So I went on to the Turkish Airlines website, and I tried to change the flight. And
did you book it, or did the agency book it?
The agency booked it. They sent me they sent me their sort of GDS confirmation as opposed to a Turkish Airlines confirmation, and it had all the necessary information in there. Oh, nice. But when I went in to the booking, and tried to change it, the email on the booking was not mine. And you had to do a two-factor authentication, which was going to somewhere else. Got in touch with the travel agency. They very quickly changed the email address. But because it was a travel agency booking, I couldn't change it on the website, even though I now had sort of quote-unquote ownership of the booking. And here's where here's the first of many things that impressed me about Turkish. I messaged them on WhatsApp. They have one of those launchers built into their website, and I got a response. You go through a sort of, AI triage for language and some data collection and what you're trying to do. And then I think, let's see, I'm looking at the live log here. I said, can you connect me to a live person, to the bot? And within, less than 2 minutes, somebody answered.
Oh, wow. That's fast.
Yeah. And they asked me, because I've done it with some other airlines, and you're waiting you wait a day, all day.
I did that with BA for another purpose earlier this week. I should say we're recording this on August the 29th, 2025. And they were very nice. But yeah, from the query to the answer to a live agent, it took 9.5 hours. Which is fine because it was not that urgent, but 9.5 hours.
Insane. It's not okay. It's just bad. And I feel that way because of this experience. Like, just so quick, and they go through the verification, like, what's your name, and give me the dates of travel and the airports and all of that, and then I had basically zero expectation of being able to do this, of being able to change the destination on an already ticketed flight without some massive faff or blah, blah, blah. And I just said, can I change the return airport from Heathrow to Gatwick? And I think they just, again, confirmed it. They asked me specifically for the flights I wanted back. And they said, can you send me a screenshot? Send him a screenshot. Confirmed the dates, and he came back within, I'm looking again at the chat log here, 4 minutes, and said it's going to take £27
nice
to change this. And it's a full business class fare.
Wow,
they send you a link in your email for payment that expires in 10 minutes. You go online, you play it, and it's done. The ticket's issued, no problem at all.
Wow.
But
27, was it a fee or was it a fare difference?
It was a fare difference.
Yeah, probably. I was about to say.
Yeah.
And by the way, I should add, I'm a very big fan of WhatsApp, because when you have these, of course, Twitter, X, whatever, it's not as user-friendly for the DMs, so the messaging part, or you can do like BA. I know you can even reach them on Instagram now, and none of this. WhatsApp is a pure messaging platform, but what I love about WhatsApp also is that, first of all, you don't have to, when you have these live chats on the website and there's a pop-up, you kind of have to stay in front of the website, and you don't want to close that window, and you don't want to leave in front of the computer. Whereas WhatsApp is in your pocket. If you want to go run errands, in that case, in your case, you didn't have to do it because it's only 4 minutes. And there's almost like there's a constance in the conversation. If you don't answer for an hour for any reason, you just pick it up, or they pick it up, and it's very practical. I really like airlines that use WhatsApp for this kind of stuff, because it's so much more practical than most of the other options like Facebook Messenger or whatever, right?
And it's I think just as importantly than being kind of platform agnostic, it's also pretty much universally understood as a device. People know how to use WhatsApp. They know how to reply.
Yeah.
They know how to do screenshots and all of that stuff. And it's not some new thing you're trying to learn. And then you have, like you say, the anxiety of, I have to make sure the tab doesn't go to sleep,
I remember having to do that before. I think now they do have on Emirates. I think I told part of the story, but I had to share a screenshot, and then I was on their live chat on their website. There was nothing to share a screenshot with, so they had to send me a link, which opened a website, and it was a faff, and I could only put one screenshot, but I needed to send two, so they needed to send me another link. And and plus, you just said that because you actually did it live here on this podcast, you have the log. Basically, you have your chat history. You know what happened. If you need to go back to, hey, you said that actually a week ago.
It's just I know more and more airlines are using it. I know that it's also coming from the East. I know that a lot of the Southeast Asian airlines have been using WhatsApp for years and years and years.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that it's become
I love it.
This,
including for notifications about flight updates and stuff like that. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I love it. Yeah,
it's great, and I was so impressed by it. And I had high hopes for the experience as well. I'd flown Emirates Turkish before, but in economy. I did it from Birmingham to Gatwick, and then Birmingham to Istanbul, and then Istanbul back to Gatwick.
That's an interesting fifth freedom route.
Yeah, I'd take it. I would absolutely take it. And I was impressed. I think I talked about it on the podcast. I was really impressed by them. It was a good product. It set the bar. It really showed what you can do with a mid-haul product that doesn't have to be kind of a punch in the face when you get on board. And so it was Gatwick departure as well, and it was South Terminal, and I didn't leave myself a massive amount of time, kind of on purpose. I had to drop the kids off at school and then go. So I think I arrived with about just under 2 hours.
That's enough in Gatwick.
Yeah, plenty of time. I always kind of quote unquote treat myself to the fast track security. It's £5, but Gatwick, as much as I love that airport, you can never tell how rammed it's going to be
in advance. No.
And at security, and
these new security though go faster. So
yes. Because you're not having to take anything out of your bag anymore. But I still do.
They have a lot of lanes, and so usually it's I never like these days. I arrive for EasyJet. I arrive an hour before. Boarding commences at 40 minutes. So and I always make it. Yeah, But I would do the same as you. I'm not criticizing that you went 2 hours ahead. I'm saying I've never had that same anxiety that I might have sometimes at Heathrow for security.
And I don't love any of the paid lounges at Gatwick enough to go, I want to get there and really experience it.
Yeah.
The BA lounge, which we've talked about at Gatwick, is excellent.
Lovely.
And I really enjoy it. But Turkish don't have a lounge access at Gatwick that you can get into, and so I went to
the Weatherspoon. No, I'm kidding.
To the Weatherspoon, and I picked a couple of fights. It was great. Sorry. I went to my lounge. I'd been there recently with the kids, and it's a kind of a smallish off to the side, because so many of them, especially as we're coming into kind of the summer, so many of those lounges are either completely full or there's a massive queue. And I saw a queue for the number one lounge. I just noped immediately.
Is the My Lounge the first one you encounter?
It's not exactly obvious where it is. It's so probably not. It's down.
Oh, you need to go down. Okay,
a hidden corridor kind of. It's not very obvious.
I don't think I've tried that one. Is that okay?
It's not. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's free coffee and something, because I've done the number one, I'll come to that a bit later because I'll tell a few stories, vignettes. I'm not going to do guys a big flight. But the very first one, I forgot the name. Maybe I have it on my notes later. Looks like an IKEA showroom, and it's basic chairs. Basic. It's fine.
I know exactly the one you're talking about. I like that one.
I like that one. Is
that the one with the outdoor space?
Yes, yeah. It feels like an IKEA showroom.
Is that My Lounge too?
Maybe it's My Lounge. That's why I'm confused. But it doesn't matter. The point is, sometimes you just want to sit down, having a coffee, and since you probably, like me, have Priority Pass, gives you access to that. Number one is very fine, but because of pre-booking, it's rammed during the summer.
Yeah.
So was many times I couldn't access it because I don't want to pre-book.
You've just made me realize something. It's you're right. There's that My Lounge, which is really good, and it has the outdoor space, which makes it even better. And then there's this other one that I went to, which I can't remember the name of it. I think it's the Aspire, actually.
Maybe. Yeah. There's
so
quite
many.
a few guys. If you don't have any context, there's a cluster of lounges. on the ground floor. I don't know if it's a ground floor, but the floor you just walk through,
Yeah.
and then you have elevators. You can go up and down, and there's Emirates there as well. I think it's downstairs, and there's other like but there's like a choice of third-party lounges.
Yeah. In both
And,
terminals.
Yeah, in both terminals. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I wasn't. I'd taken the kids there, like I said, like maybe even the month before or 2 months before, so I knew exactly what to expect. I knew I was going to be able to get in. That's the only lounge I've been to at Gatwick where there's never seemed to be a massive queue, or they've ever said, "Oh no, sorry, we're full." And I knew I was only going to be there for about 45 minutes, so it really didn't matter at all.
yeah.
And everybody there, like the people at the desk, are sort of curt but friendly in a sort of very dry way, funny in quite a dry way, which I appreciate. So I didn't spend much time there before going to the gate, and it was a A321 Neo, which is such a great airplane for this kind of mid-haul because it feels spacious. It obviously felt new because it was pretty new, and the way that they've done business class on this airplane is 2-2. It's not fully flat, but it's pretty close to being fully flat. And I didn't have anybody next to me on any of my flights, which was pretty lucky, I think.
Yeah, they really have an actual business class seat.
Yeah.
As opposed to many European airlines who just have the same seat and free seat, 3-3, for instance, a free seat. That's the one, you remember, that's the one I missed when I was downgraded on Zurich to Istanbul. They gave me the full emergency exit as an apology. I was seeing that, and I was like, it was also 321, and that's so the only airline in Europe that flies in I don't think in a 320, however. With a 321, they fly up, let's say, a proper business class. Like I said, it's not lie flat, but yeah.
It's really impressive, the way that they've done it. And it feels spacious. It's not private, but it has the sort of wraparound headrest where you don't feel like the person, if they're next to you and someone you're not traveling with, that you feel a bit sort of, this is too close for comfort. But it's just really well done. It's got a big screen in front of you with, the IFE was excellent. Just really, really broad content, really snappy interface, great moving map.
A great design as well, the way it's laid out, the IFE. I think Turkish IFE is one of the best in the world, actually. Yeah.
I agree. And I was impressed by it when I flew from Birmingham in economy. Obviously, the interface is the same. You just have a bigger screen. But it's a nice, bright screen, really comfortable seat, great amenities. But the thing that stood out for me was the service.
Oh, yeah.
On all four sectors, but particularly on this one, and then actually the return from Constanza. It is so attentive and not fawning, but just sort of they're constantly moving about the cabin and seeing if anybody needs anything, topping things up, offering cookies or lots of macadamia nuts handed out, and
I love it.
Yeah, just nothing was too much. It was so impressive to watch. It was the perfect balance of attentiveness and reactiveness and politeness without being fawning. It was so impressive, the whole experience across the board. From end to end, and the food was excellent. You get as soon as you board, you get a full printed menu with choices for entrees and all of that. And it was only 3 and a bit hours from Gatwick to Istanbul. Yeah. Excellent choices of wine. I didn't have any. It was like a 11 a.m. flight, so I was still drinking coffee at that point. But just. The food was excellent, truly excellent food, and I know I always do this, but I kept thinking like, this is how it can be. You can do this. You know, it's
Agreed.
not like they had a 777, which I know they do to Heathrow, but this was a mid-haul A321 for those 3.5 to 5 hour flights. And I'd seen it done well, maybe 6 years ago, at least with Etihad. Etihad have their A320s and 321s even now more recently.
Yep.
And I flew them from Abu Dhabi to Delhi in business class, and I saw how good. I've seen it with JetBlue, with Mint. You can do it. You can do it, and you can do it well.
I've done that with Qatar as well. Yeah, you can do it.
It's and I think, you know, JetBlue and now Etihad's upgraded A321 Neos.
Oh yeah, they will have proper like,
first class. That's sort of like the other end of the spectrum.
Of course.
This is something that is sustainable. It's pragmatic. I guess you can't move the cabin divider and add more business class seats. Fine, you know. And I know it's not for the 35-minute jaunts either. They have other airplanes that are for that. But as an offering, it was so impressive. Blazing fast internet that if you were a Miles and More member, you didn't need to have status. You got for free. I think you got a gig of data transfer. Yeah, which is, you know, if you're sensible and you put it on your phone on low data mode, will easily last you a 3-hour flight.
More, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. Wow. So it was very fast. I was just, as an experience, as a fully packaged product, I was really, really impressed by the whole thing. Power outlets where you needed them, USB, you know, a little remote for the TV. Just good. Really, really good. The flight was on time, and on the IFE, they've got all the connection information because they've really positioned themselves and that airport as a global connection hub.
And it is. It's incredible.
It really is.
And the number of destinations you can go with.
You know, it's funny. I don't know that airport well. I've only been twice before, and I wasn't sure how easy it was going to be to get from my kind of mid-haul gate to my short-haul gate. I didn't know how much time I was going to have, whether I was going to have time to go into the lounge, anything like that. But they have all of these interactive maps, these route planners. If you're actually accessing the Turkish Airlines website from their Wi-Fi, it does not count towards your data cap. And they have one of those map tools, so I could say I'm going from this gate, and of course they'd already showed my gate on the IFE for my connecting flight, and it said, okay, you just go this way, and it's going to take you about this long, and all of that. So impressive. And of course, as you land at Istanbul, you taxi, and you taxi, and you taxi, and you taxi, and somehow, and I don't know why I didn't, I know why I didn't figure this out last time, because I arrived at night. This was the first time I'd arrived at Istanbul during the day.
Oh, I see.
You're taxiing, and then you realize you're going uphill. You're going up to another level because these planes are below you somehow.
Yes.
You know, at some point, and then they're above you, and you're like, what the hell? So the airport is so big that you actually go uphill at some point, up to the terminal level, and you're taxiing and taxiing, and eventually arrive at the gate. And I had a pretty good idea of where I was going, but I, again, had forgotten the sheer scale of that airport, the terminal building.
Yeah. And it's not finished. I mean, they're expanding. I know.
They're going and going and going. And I looked at my watch, and I was like, actually, I do have a little bit of time here.
How long did you have roughly? Like a couple of hours?
Yeah, about a couple of hours. I had, 16:49 to, actually just about, 3 hours.
Yeah, it's enough to go to the lounge, man.
Yeah, and Greg was messaging me. He was trying to finish up our Nepal episode, and I needed to get him some voiceover. So I had brought my little DJI microphones with me. There's a reason I'm saying this, but which I'll come back to in a second. I go up to this lounge, the first lounge I came across, and I said to the lady, I showed her my ticket. I'm like, am I able to come in here? And she said, yes. but don't. And I said, sorry? She's like, walk down to gate A, whatever. That's a much nicer lounge. This lounge is really crowded. Go down to this other lounge.
Did you go to, so was she pointing out to the main lounge, which
the
is in the
main
central
lounge,
bit?
and I think I'd found a business and first class lounge, and she said, you know, and she was very sweet about it, and so I took her advice, and while I was walking, I passed one of the departure boards, and you're right, Mexico City, Ashgabat, Zurich, Tokyo. Everything that you can possibly imagine in every possible language. It is so impressive.
I agree, like 100%. I'm more and more thinking, because the Qatar and Emirates have become extremely expensive.
Yeah.
Etihad is still in this kind of challenger mode now, back to being a challenger and trying to fight. But Turkish often has very, very, very good rates.
Yeah. I was impressed by it.
Very impressive.
This lounge that I went into, I had never been in before, and I don't know what the other lounge is that I went to. I think it was a paid lounge because it was the tiered one. If you know that, like, that's looking down over the main
Yes.
kind of food court. That's the one I went in last time. This one that I went in this time was a Turkish Airlines lounge that felt very Emirates.
Oh, okay.
It was this long, open space like the Emirates business class lounge in Dubai.
Yep.
That it was beautiful. I think they'd taken a lot of inspiration from Emirates with this sort of food sections in the middle and seating areas off to the side, and then the sort of champagne bars. So nothing was in a separate room, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a
much
big
like the one
open
in
space.
Yeah, so you have this one big open space, and then you would have little areas for things, but nothing was in a separate room or kind of cordoned off. But you had different types of seating areas, and it was immediately very impressive. Very little alcohol, which I thought was interesting. There was no bar.
I always found that.
Yeah.
So first, I want to say I've never been to the lounge you are mentioning now. I've been to the big one, which overseas, but I know where it is because I've seen it. For some reason, I was always drawn to that lounge in the middle because you are like it's like a rooftop terrace, and you see the entire.
Yeah, I know exactly the one you're talking about.
And now to the comment about alcohol, I think that's their way of striking this balance of being still a country that is Muslim, but with an international, network and crowd. And so even at the other lounge, I found it's not in your face. There is alcohol, but it's not like there's bars everywhere and just pick your beer and whatever. It's a bit more of a dance. Sometimes you can ask some stuff and they will bring you stuff, but it's not like in your face. And maybe, I don't know because I've never asked anyone at Turkish or whatever, but I thought last time I was there, and I've been like, you've been too, but I've been only 4 times at Istanbul, the new Istanbul.
Yeah.
I thought it's really about this balance, perhaps.
Yeah.
That's the most logical I found.
It definitely felt that way. There was kind of the refrigerated cabinets for beers and soft drinks, and then I obviously paid kind of display set up for some kind of prosecco or something like that, and you could get red and white wine, but there was no sort of bars like you have at the Emirates Lounge where they'll make you a cocktail or anything like that, which is fine. Again, it wasn't the time of day for me to be indulging, but lots of kind of fresh food stations where they'll cook something for you.
I love that.
On demand, and lots of good Turkish food, and souvlaki. I know souvlaki is Greek, but just that type of like grill.
Skewers,
yeah. Amazing. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Lots of fresh kind of salad bars and hummus and everything like that. That was fantastic. But I had to get this voiceover done for Greg, otherwise he would divorce me. So I was like, where the hell am I going to do this? And I'm looking. They have one of the like a big signpost directory, like the spas over this way and the restrooms are that way and the rest blah blah blah. And I had meeting rooms, and I thought maybe I'll try and go. So I went around the sort of back side of this block, and there were a row of maybe 6 meeting rooms that had iPads on the front, and you could book them. You could just type in your information, how long you were going to be there.
That's smart.
And you had this beautiful conference room with a TV if you needed it, air conditioning, a speakerphone. And you didn't have to like talk to anybody. You didn't have to pay anything. You could just use it. And so I sat in there for about 45 minutes and
Introvert's paradise.
it was great. Yeah, exactly.
Don't talk to anyone.
And you could book them for, an hour at a time or 50,
That's
15
very
minutes.
clever, actually.
It was so straightforward and simple. And, of course, it's dotted with things like, video game setups. There was even one of those virtual golf driving range things.
They love those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool. Just a great, really impressive lounge. Again, like there was something about it. I would love to hear from anybody that goes through that lounge on a regular basis. Something about it felt unfinished, or like there was a section that was under construction, or there was nothing obvious that there was like cordoned off or anything, but there was an obvious space beyond the furthest point that you could go that felt like it was going to be something or had been something. I would love to know, if there was something I can look forward to experiencing the next time I go.
I mean, I don't know, but my hunch would say that since they're constantly expanding, there's maybe just room for the next expansion. I don't know.
Yeah, it probably was exactly that.
Were you able to do that voiceover then?
I did. Yep, I had my little DJI mics and I recorded it and sent it off to Greg, and he worked his magic. And they're blazing fast Wi-Fi in the lounge, so that wasn't a problem either. But
That's
it's such a good lounge. And then my gate for the connecting flight was a little bit of a ways, so I went over there. I think it was the A gates. I can't remember off the top of my head, but again, it's sort of this long pier of gates, and we were on the left-hand side, and it was a A319, an older A319. I think it was about 15 or 16 years old. And that was like a BA plane.
Oh.
So it was 2 or 3 rows of business class, but it was the economy seats with the middle seat blocked off. Nothing special about the seats, no IFE, nothing. But again, the crew were so nice. And the flight was 32 minutes and they did a full meal service.
What?
Full meal service for business class, and a drink and snack run for an economy. Excuse me. No alcohol was offered or served on that flight.
That's
but
fine.
Yeah. Again, it was so short. I didn't eat. I wasn't hungry because I just gorged myself in the lounge.
Into the house.
And also, frankly, this was a new experience to me. I wanted to kind of be fully there and looking around.
Of course. Yeah, we'll do the same.
But again, like super short flight. You're basically going directly north along the coast of the Black Sea, past Bulgaria, as you mentioned, to Constanza. There's no time to really even do anything other than like a full meal service. But just such kind, friendly crew. I was just so impressed. They didn't just hang out in the lounge. They just kept, are you sure you don't want to eat? Is there anything else I can get you? Really impressive. And then landing at Constanza, you're looking and you're like, there's got to be an airport around here somewhere. And actually, it's a pretty significant airport because it's, if you squint, you can see Ukraine.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah.
So there is quite a lot of NATO military activity there.
I see.
And there has been it's been a shared military base for a long time. Since 1999, the U.S. Air Force has had a presence there. So there was a lot of helicopter movement, even just in landing and taxiing. They've got F-22s based there as well. So it's a strategically significant airport, if not a commercially significant airport. Because when we landed, there was no other airplanes in the civil side of the airport.
Yeah.
There was no terminal.
What?
No terminal because so you
What?
land at the on the runway and you taxi back along the runway, and you pull off onto the apron, and there's people waiting. There's a tractor there that usually acts as a tug if necessary, and some porta cabins, like maybe 5 or 6 porta cabins, and then the terminal itself is all fenced off, like it's just derelict.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because they're redoing it, but
there you go.
It's at the moment it's non-existent. It doesn't look like anything, and so you get off the plane down the steps, and somebody's kind of ushering you towards this porta cabin that looks like, like where do I go? I don't really understand where I'm going here. And so you go into this porta cabin, and there's 2 desks, and it's like the size of a shipping container, immigration.
Oh, wow.
So there's 2 immigration counters who process you without a word, and then you zigzag down as a ramp, and you're ejected into this. The only way I can describe it is a abandoned primary school netball court. So it's like that asphalt, that chewed up asphalt with a chain link fence around you, and that's it.
What?
There's no arrivals. There's no taxi stand. There's literally nothing. There's like a stray dog kind of wander. And I'm not making it up. There was like a stray dog wandering around. You're looking back at the terminal, which is just, again, completely decrepit because they're rebuilding it. And I'm like, where the hell do I go? Like, baggage claim. There's a sort of, I didn't check in a bag, but there's a makeshift belt that just sort of barfs out a bag from time to time. It was the most surreal, and it was sort of like dusk, and I'm looking around going, I don't see a driver. I don't see where a driver would come to meet me if there was a driver. It was so surreal. Eventually, I did connect with the driver after WhatsApping back and forth with one of the conference organizers. It was so wild. And I did, after that, I looked and I learned that they were rebuilding the airport, and it's taken a long time, and there's been some misappropriation of funds, which is why it's taken a bit of time. But I couldn't think of an experience I'd had quite like that in any airport anywhere in the world that wasn't sort of already designed to be like that, some bush flying in southern Africa maybe. But yeah, it was very discombobulating.
That's amazing.
And it's like, it's a 35-minute drive into Romania, into Constanța proper, which was lovely. The event itself was in an old casino, which was abandoned for 25 years.
Wow.
It's this beautiful Art Deco building that they've since revitalized and right on the water and turned into a conference space. Stunning, and one of the best produced conferences I've ever had the pleasure of participating in.
The more east you go, the more it happens. And I'm talking generally, because maybe what they cannot make with, money, as in they don't rest on their laurels. They have to attract people to come. So I've always experienced the same thing. The more east I was going, and that includes Asia, by the way, sometimes I had conferences in the US, in the UK, I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's okay, right? I'm not, and there are exceptions, of course, but wow. Oh, that's amazing.
It was so
As
impressive.
speakers, it's very, very, guys, you might not be speakers, but there's something about being in a nice setup and a nice atmosphere, and also the production levels are high, and the people, it's just like, it makes you feel good, and gives you more energy or something. It's really not yeah.
It was so cool. Impressive. Just the AV and the organization, and it was like a TV show. It was great. So I had
love that.
A great experience there. I wish I could have stayed longer and explored Constanța a little bit more.
Is it a small city, I guess, or?
Yeah, it's not
small.
huge.
I'm not talking like 5,000 people. I'm talking it's like it feels like a seaside resort.
I
type
think
of
it's
city.
about 250,000, 300,000 people. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think, a lot of people talked about like, oh, we used to spend summers here as a kid and all of that.
Yeah, same as Varna. That's exactly what I was
Yeah.
saying. That's why I had this. I've never been to Costanza, but it feels similar. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's a nice place, and a lot of stories there. I'm sure, and a lot of places like that exist on the Black Sea, but that's by far the biggest. So yeah, it was great, and I woke up very early the morning that I was supposed to fly back from Istanbul to home. To heavy fog.
Oh.
So I think like the flight was pretty early, like 8:30 in the morning from Constanza to Istanbul, and I woke up at about 5:30, something like that, not knowing how security was going to be or anything like that. So I was like, oh, okay. I woke up to like heavy fog and thinking, oh man, this is not good. So I kept an eye on the inbound aircraft because there's only one flight, so it was very easy to be able to see. And it was actually, they switched the airplane because that fog was throughout the area. So the plane that was originally supposed to service was another A319, but it got stuck somewhere, so we swapped to a 737-800. And I was really excited about that because in our neck of the woods, as you know, flying on a 737 is actually quite rare, unless you're flying Ryanair. Yep. So I was like, oh, sweet, this is going to be awesome.
KLM.
Or KLM, that's true. Yeah. But it's for me, it's a rare treat, and I look forward to it.
Same.
So we get to the airport, and security is like, it's not a big room, by the size of my living room. But they're processing one flight at a time.
Yeah, of course. You don't need
and it's all obviously very temporary. You have to check in. There's no mobile boarding passes or anything like that. So on one side of the room, you have 4 check-in desks. They were very friendly. It took the whole process, took 30 seconds, gave me my boarding pass. And then you kind of walk across to the other side of the room to go through security, which was reassuringly thorough, but not in a sort of theatrical or faffy way. It was sort of, let me just look at that one more time. And again, very kind in our limited ability to communicate in each other's languages. And then you come out into another room with a tiny little coffee shop. Kiosk is more a fair word. A tiny little souvenir stand, and then like 6 rows of chairs. And then eventually somebody comes out. You can hear the plane land, and everybody jumps off. I don't think there was maybe 40 people on that flight. You watch them kind of walk past you out into the old netball court, and then somebody's like, "All right, let's go. If you want to go to Istanbul, get on board." And there's a beautiful 737 sitting in the morning sun. The fog had lifted by this point, and you walk, a good way across the tarmac, much more than we would ever get away with in the UK, which of course for me is like fantastic. I love it. It's starting to warm up. It's like 23, 24 degrees, and walk up the steps, which still gives me a buzz just doing that. There's something, I don't know, different than going from terminal to jet bridge to airplane.
Yeah,
there's something you really feel like this is it. This is where the journey starts.
Sorry to interrupt, even on big birds, I've done recently, what was it? Qatar, I had to go up a 350 with the steps, and I've done once in my life, I think I've done a 380 with the steps, which is even that's unusual, but that gives you this sense, like you said, of the start of the voyage.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's super cool. And the 737 was a little bit newer than the A319 that brought us down. But again, it was a very kind service. They offered food. I didn't want it. It was too early, but lovely Turkish coffee. Very quick flight. I think it was about 29 minutes. Wow. And then you come in over Istanbul over Istanbul itself. And then down the Bosphorus, you cross the Bosphorus. So you go past, you kind of do a downwind leg on the.
So basically, you're taking a similar, sorry to interrupt again, but you're taking a similar route that they would have taken for the previous airport, because you basically go down, but instead of landing there, then you go back up towards the new airport to line up. I think.
Yeah, you fly over Istanbul and then you do a U-turn effectively and line up with everybody else.
Yeah, because before that U-turn, that's where you were at that U-turn level. That's where you were actually then descending, because the airport was south of. Oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
I've done it once. I think I remember, but that's Okay, go ahead.
So it's that you get a great view of Istanbul and
yes.
Yeah, that's
true.
Again, coming into that crazy airport and, seeing all of these airlines, like that's another thing about going to Istanbul is all of these airlines. I'm like, what in the hell is that? Because they don't have nearly as many kind of restrictions or embargoes or any, that we do. So, Mirage Airlines, never heard of them. Iran Air Tour. I mean, old
they have this market also, the Central Asian market that we wouldn't have here in the UK.
Yeah.
Because it would be like kind of a short haul to medium haul type of stuff. So it would come west of Europe. Yeah. But yeah, I agree.
It's so cool. It's so cool to see that. And of course, because you're taxiing forever, you get to see all of these, you have time to see all of these airlines that I've never heard of, and all these destinations I'd never heard of. Azimuth Airlines. I'm like, what is that? Great. It's so exciting for people like you and me. I went back up to that same lounge. I had a little bit longer this time. I was pretty tired because it was a nonstop conference and travel and getting up early. So I just kind of found myself a nice corner of the lounge, had some Turkish coffee, did a little bit of work, and just appreciated what a good lounge can feel like, because when you're not thinking I'm in a lounge, you're just like, I'm comfortable. I've got blazing fast Wi-Fi, got noise canceling headphones, but it's not loud anyway.
Yeah.
I've got time. And yeah, it's just a great experience. It was the same aircraft on the way back to Gatwick. So an A321neo.
Okay.
Again, same level of service, blazing fast Wi-Fi where I could easily stream Spotify without having to wait for any buffering. It was so good. The service was good. The food was great. It flew right over my house on arrival at Gatwick, because it's a VOR reporting point, which is and I landed at Gatwick, taxied to the gate, got off, and got that's it. This is the new standard for mid-haul for me. It has to be this good.
I agree.
It was so impressive, end to end. There's nothing I can fault about that experience, and I'm really glad that I had those two short haul legs to not get me think that this is what it's always like. They were crappy old airplanes with no hard product differentiation, and it was still good.
Yeah.
I'm doing the same thing that you're doing. I've put all of my Star travel in miles and more on Turkish. Is it miles and
Turkish?
more?
So it's Smiles and More.
Smiles and
Miles. Smiles and
Miles
Miles.
and Miles. That's the one.
That's
Miles
Turkish.
and More is Lufthansa, isn't it?
Yeah, Lufthansa, exactly. Which I was about stuck with. But it's hard to change within the same alliance. I'm like, do I? And every time I'm like, no, I'd keep it with Lufthansa.
So I think I'll look for them. Look to Turkish for any travel east and southeast from London.
Yeah.
I'll look at the usual suspects like Emirates and Etihad and Qatar.
Of course, yeah. More price sensitive. So, but yeah,
they are such a great option, because transiting, they've obviously looked at what the ME3 are doing, and transiting through that airport is a breeze. So, yeah, end to end, fantastic experience. I was so impressed. So impressed.
No, I like them, and they really improved. When you were saying that you were trying to find a 777 that flies to Heathrow, it used to be that there was I think twice daily occurrence, and now it's just a daily, not even every day. But back, we're talking pre-COVID here. Back when I was trying to do that, is because the alternatives, the smaller Airbuses that they were using, had really nothing special. It was like you just said, like a BA or Lufthansa, just like the same seats in the front. Yeah, the service, I think they improved the service. The service is good. Now it's even better.
Yeah.
But now that with the 321s that they've introduced, if you were to fly business class, they've introduced these seats. It's a perfect product for this type of route. It reminds me actually of what Emirates used to do when I was living in Cyprus. We're talking here in 2010, 2011, 2012. I was in Cyprus, something like that. And I was flying Emirates, the first leg of Emirates from Larnaca Airport to Dubai, which is also like, I want to say 3.5 hours, maybe long memory. It was a time where they were not exclusively using 777s and 380s. It was, what was it, 330? Maybe, like it was like a bigger, the point being that they didn't have like also like lie flat. They had a nice business class that was perfect for 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
And for me, that's good enough. I don't need a lie flat for 2 hours, man. What the hell?
Yeah. And to be fair to BA and the other Western European airlines,
they do not have these type of routes.
They don't. I mean,
yes.
you if you draw the 4 hour radius from London,
yeah,
there's not a lot of
agreed.
Of destinations that aren't going to be better served by
agreed
high density, high frequency, and there, and a lot of people are using 321s across the Atlantic, where BA can throw wide bodies 12 times a day and still fill them. So it also doesn't make sense. But if you draw a 4 hour radius from Istanbul and you look at all the places that they can, it makes complete sense.
No, 100%. No, I agree. It was not meant as a diss to European airlines because indeed, you go to Marrakesh from here, it's like 3.5 hours. You go to, maybe the further would be, actually, when I was living in Cyprus, London to Larnaca is nearly 4 and something. It almost reaches 5. Nah, I cannot remember. It's been too long. But that was the time when I was like, come on, could we not have a better? But then again, it's a single route. And then there's maybe Tel Aviv. Or Beirut. Remember when I was flying to Beirut all the time? I was flying a mix of BA and MEA, Middle Eastern Airlines. BA, but these are exceptions. Cairo maybe, but these are
they
kind
had
of
St.
almost.
Petersburg. There was all the ex-British Midland. Yeah.
I don't know if there's that many that justify. And the same applies for Lufthansa, for Swiss, for Iberia, France, There's not that. Yeah. I mean, of course, when you do that single route, which is a bit longer, you wish they had what Turkish has, of course, 100%. Yeah. Absolutely.
But I'm a fan. I'm a convert.
Yeah, I'm looking more and more at them, actually, because also I have this silver status of Lufthansa, which, as I said, I'm not going to reach it, but they have this thing when you can pay to maintain it. And it's 500 euros every year. I only did it once because usually I would maintain it. I don't know if that's going to continue. They're going to offer me this every year, but it's a nice way to kind of, I want to make the choice. Always this thing in your mind. Well, I have miles there, so I might actually choose them. And you get access to some lounges, whether or better, or sometimes fast track, stuff like that. By the way, since you were talking about Istanbul, it has now overtook Heathrow as the busiest in Europe. Wow. And before I get like people stupid comments, Istanbul is on the European side. The airport is on the European side of the continent because I always get like stupid people telling me that Istanbul is not in Europe. But that airport, it has overtook Heathrow. It's the busiest now.
Oh, one final postscript.
Go ahead.
While we were taxiing out to the runway to go from Istanbul to Gatwick, I was looking on Flight Radar to see, when there was going to be a break for us to be able to go. And I could see an Emirates A380 on final. And I'm looking out the window as, with the departing runway right next to me. And as it's on final, maybe no more than 50 feet above the runway, it goes around.
Oh, wow.
So watching an A380 up close do a missed approach, like right in front of you, right off the runway, was so impressive. Yeah. So
you must
impressive.
feel impressive inside as well because you feel you're floating when you're landing.
Yeah.
So to feel suddenly the power of the thrust
Yeah.
again. Wow,
I don't know
how
what the
must that-
reason was. They don't have live ATC at that particular airport. I don't know what the reason was, but it was so cool to
Oh,
see
man.
that happen right in front of your eyes. Yeah. Anyway,
Man.
sorry. Moving on.
No, don't be sorry. I love that kind of stuff. Oh man, I've never seen that. By the way, since you talk about runway, we talked about expansion. So they started, and that probably explains why they overtook Heathrow as the busiest. So they already were the busiest in terms of available seats. There was more destinations, more seats available to fly from Istanbul than to fly from Heathrow. But now they've actually overtook them as in terms of the actual number of people who are going through that airport.
Oh, wow.
That was in March, February that they started overtaking Heathrow. But no, later, actually April or May, because they started the 3 runway operation only, I think, in April. Now they're flying. They're using 3 runways, so I think they have nearly 150 movements an hour. And they're building 2 more runways.
Incredible.
And the terminal capacity, that's maybe why you said about this the construction perhaps at this lounge you visited. They are also, so they're currently, they will be able to handle about, I think, 120 million passengers a year by the end of this year. So like in a few months, which is already like the biggest in Europe. But with the construction they're doing, by the end of 2028, which is tomorrow, it's not like 2070 like Heathrow.
Yeah.
2028, they'll have 200 million plus. 200 million. So it's not only going to be an airline that you want because you like the service, but it's also going to be very practical because they'll have places, they'll route you to places you cannot go with anyone else, which is already the case, by the way. I think they have the most destination of any airline. More than Emirates,
incredible, isn't it?
more than Etihad. That's been for quite a while. Yeah, it's an impressive operation, honestly.
Yeah.
And they've really improved the customer service because it was, and we discussed that with Hakan when he was actually here on the podcast, and we said that a lot pre-COVID. I mean, I was flying a lot of Turkish pre-COVID, that sometimes the service was, and I'm not here talking about the crew service, I'm talking about the customer service surrounding the experience, was very kind of, civil servant, governmental type of, and you were like, what the hell? Whereas now I don't feel that. Maybe there's still some stuff in the back, I don't know, but I feel that less and less. It has become a very modern airline. So yeah, it's lovely, a lovely airline. And Heathrow, man, have you seen they just, since I just said that, they just rehashed the same plans and they said, okay, we want to do this. And so the 3rd runway, one more terminal, 2 more terminals, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, okay, do it then. Just do it,
Yeah, get on with it. Stop talking about it.
Get on with it. And it's private money. I heard people, maybe you heard that as well because you live in the UK. Because again, guys, how Heathrow is not the greatest, especially for layovers, for transfers. There are a lot of people say, oh, it's a lot of money. But yeah, it's private money. So I don't care. Just
private money, yeah.
It's private money. It's not the public money. Of course, there will be some disruption on the famous M25, which is the highway, the motorway that goes next to it. And of course, there's a 3rd runway will affect people. I'm not saying it's nothing, but I'm saying just go for it then. Just go. Just stop talking about it and just go for it. Because that airport, look, at the time they took to T1 to tear it down. Now they said, we will tear it down. Have they? No.
No, of course they haven't. Yeah, it's frustrating.
Actually, are you watching or have you heard of Alien Earth?
No.
So it's the new, it's Alien, like the movie franchise, but it's a TV show. But the entire aesthetic is very retro, like it's futurist, but retro-futuristic because it's supposed to be happening before the first movie. So, and when that movie was filmed in the 70s, the way they were seeing the future is not the same as us. So it's a lovely design language. And I'm saying they should offer T1 for that design language to Alien Earth or other sci-fi shows because you probably now have stuff that, this looks cool just because it's from the past.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So because we're episode 150, I'm going to do something that I haven't done for a while. I'm going to do a little bit, little feedback, little bit of, because, to celebrate some of you guys that are listening to this podcast. Not a lot. So I've picked a few guys. I know some people will say, why did you not read my comment? But we got too many. So it's not the point. But so I took really some of them randomly. The first one is from Andrew Curran at Flight Journo on X, Twitter, is a journalist writing about things that fly. And he said, I always save my layovers podcast for flying time. Today it's episode 148 in a soft seat on a QF is Qantas 41 to Jakarta, CJK, that's Jakarta. Thank you, Andrew. And especially as a seasoned professional who writes about things that fly, I guess you're talking about airplanes, maybe birds, I don't know. No, he says aircrafts, rockets, satellites, and drones. It's very kind of you to be listening to us. And probably Qantas from down under. Then there was a few comments we got. Again, didn't take them all, that we received after recording our 10-year episode. And what was the one I want to say here? There's many. Sorry, guys. Congratulations. That's Mileage Runner Steve. Congratulations, guys. I've been with you since about episode 40.
Wow.
I know because I've seen your name over and over. And I've loved your extended AvGeeks conversations. Your podcast is one of the first aviation podcasts I found, and it's still one of the best. Thank you so much. I'm based in the US, but we have a second home in Spain. So I love your European perspective. That's what we provide, Alex. We're the European podcast, I guess. There you go. Then I didn't write down where that was. Maybe that was on Threads. Maybe, that's the explosion of all these things. It used to be that everybody was on Twitter. Now we don't know. So maybe it's actually on Instagram. Asger Hess, ASGERHESS. Love it, guys. A single best podcast cannot stop listening. That's very kind to say. Thank you.
Very generous.
Thank you. Mondostic 3000 was very happy to learn that Paul is half one of us. I said that because he's from Finland. So yes, I'm half one of you. I know my origins are confusing sometimes for people. And yes. So thank you. And he also congratulates us. Blast from the Past, because I don't think I've seen that name for a while. It's not a congratulation, but it's for you. Alex Ostreicher. He says we need a eulogy for Southwest Airlines.
Yeah.
We will talk about that eventually, maybe.
It would be good to talk about that because it's such a storied American airline.
The thing is, this year you broke your usual habit, which was to be in the US for the summer. So usually you would have been exposed to maybe a Southwest or etc., and you haven't. So at some point, maybe when I'll be in the US later this year, but I don't think I'll fly Southwest. Maybe you will also eventually. Maybe we should talk a little bit about Southwest a bit more.
I think that would be a good idea.
That would matter. A useful. Yeah, that was nice. You remember the Qatar story? I told you I saw a pilot sat next to me and he was refused champagne.
Yes.
And it was like wondering. And I think I was really looking too far for an explanation because Magnus.ant, I think Magnus, that was a comment on Spotify. Could it be that the pilot flying deadhead on the 350 with you, where the cabin crew just checked if they could serve champagne, was booked on an ID ticket? So the crew knew from the manifest that he was a pilot. And that's actually maybe certainly possible.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, that I was trying to say, how can they spot them? Maybe the manifest just said he's a pilot and they needed to check. It's just that the interaction, remember, when she came to offer, the route of drinks, she should have known, but maybe she knew it was a pilot, but maybe was surprised that he asked for champagne and then said, oh, okay, I need to check that. Went to see the manifest, whether he's just going home or was he not flying, to work. That's probably what happened. And I was maybe trying too hard. Someone who often comments, Mihir Shah, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. That was on Blue Sky, man, we're everywhere. And that's the reason why I don't track all these comments, because I don't have the time, guys. I'm sorry. You comment often, Mihir. Again, I hope I pronounce your name right. And he says he never flew BA because he finds our discussions about BA fascinating. He never flew them, but as someone growing up in the 80s in Chicago, I saw lots of family fly them, especially to and from India. No one ever complained and loved the old lender livery. Yeah. Is it still the same great airline as it was back in the day? I don't know.
The world's favorite airline.
Yeah, there was. Is that still your favorite, Alex? Look, one last. He listens and he's in the industry. He works crew. Martin Hammer, I think. But you're on was it? Again, guys, I think the thread. They are private cook. So, Martin, do you like cooking? But you're there because German, but their private cook. He was hoping that I was mentioning Zurich. Every time I mention Zurich, he says, maybe I will be in the same flight. And he was like, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that you, Paul, might be on one of them flights, since you mentioned you'll be flying Swiss. I told him that I was flying from Zurich, but he was not on that flight, sadly. But he was, I think, Martin, you do long haul? You go to Japan and stuff? Anyway, guys, thank you so much for always commenting. Yeah. The links of where you can comment are in the description of the show. And you can do reviews as well, as you know, on Apple Podcasts and stars, and I think even on Spotify. But again, we do not ask for it. It's always very greatly appreciated. And I'm sorry, Absolutely. We are sorry that we don't take the time to read them. But we both have other jobs. and I should probably, but we have a lot of usually things to talk about. And we rather talk about stories more than... But really, again, we really appreciate it. But at any time, like the previous comment about the champagne for the pilot, every time you have something that actually think, and that will come now, that could actually spark a discussion, would be very happy to discuss it, because sometimes you teach us stuff that we don't know, or you have Absolutely. A story that we have no clue about. So really, so thank you, all of us, and special mention to the ones who've been listening for 150 episodes, and some of you maybe 6 times the catalog, right? Avi, Alex. All right. So you remember how we discussed, Alex, that the definition of soft and hard product, and what was soft. And we kind of ended up at everything that is attached to the plane is the hard product, and the rest is the soft. And Martin Hammer, again, they are private cook, said he loves, hold on, because, sorry, I'm reading at the same time. He loved your talk about hard and soft product. That's something I try to tell my crews. Even if your hard product might not be comparable to Emirates, Qatar, or Singapore, the crew can clearly make a difference.
Absolutely.
Yes. Right?
Absolutely.
100%. That's something, it seems obvious, but, when you have these, that's the thing, when you have these reviews on YouTube and everything of airline seats, mostly is about, where's the storage and how does it lie flat and blah. But the crew can change the conversation completely, man. Completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And that's probably why, guys, I've been boring you sometimes with Qatar Airways, that Alex still hasn't flown, because
somehow.
Of course the Q Suite is amazing, but generally the crew have been either amazing, very, 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 very good, or good. I never had a bad experience. And that adds to, if I have bad experiences with Qatar, even if I'm on a super nice seat, and again, I think the new JAL business class that I've flown to Tokyo is better, but I would say I would maybe change my tune. But yeah, the crew, and that's actually, since Martin, I'm pretty sure Martin works for Swiss. You were talking earlier about the service, and I said, what was it about the app? I don't remember what you said earlier at the top of the show. I remember I was flying, I think a year ago, from Zurich, and I'm at a train station, and my Swiss flight from Zurich to London gets canceled, and I got an app notification. I'm like, the usual. I had a link, open the app opens, I have a chat bot, and the chat bot was the best ever experience I had to rebook a flight, because immediately says, what do you want to do? You want to get a refund? Do you want to get another flight? I said, can I get another flight? And by the way, it says clearly, if you say you want another flight, doesn't mean you can go back and then change, I want a refund. So it's very kind of open. You go to the other flight, it says, here are the 2 other flights you could take today. Do you want one of them? And I said, I looked, this one. Took them, then, okay, we transfer you to the new flight. And by the way, your service is also transferred. My service was emergency exit. And I had this exact same seat. That whole interaction on the app took about 45 seconds.
Amazing.
And, and they said same price. One of the flight was slightly higher. They would tell you, this is the fare difference. And you can always come back. It's like not committal when you say, oh, shit, do I want the refund?
You have the opportunity to explore your options.
Yes. And
As it should be.
Yes. And probably because I know that Swiss and, of course, and Lufthansa share the similar, technologies. Probably that this kind of bot happens in Lufthansa, never happened to be. But that was the greatest ever experience I had to rebook a flight. Not that I had to rebook many. I'm sure other airlines do this as well. But that was fantastic. And again, I was just on the platform at the train station. I'm like, okay, I'll take this one. Oh, I have 1 more hour. I'll go to the lounge. That's it. That was, man, just...
it's the way it should be.
I know because you love your customer service because you just said the service on Turkish was amazing. I just said Qatar, the crew are usually amazing, but I've heard many times that the people, the customer service more like in the back. So what happens if your flight is canceled? You have to rebook. If your flight is delayed. Especially if you're in economy, if you don't have any status, because let's not forget, for the most part I've flown, not for the whole part I've flown Qatar, I was always one world, equivalent silver, equivalent gold. So I always had status. I've heard that sometimes it breaks, right? That sometimes it's not that great. I've not experienced it myself, but I need to put it out there, not to think that Qatar is the best airline in the world and never anything happened. So I don't know. Don't you think, that's my question to you, do you think that in that soft and hard product, that customer service should be part of the soft product as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Outside of the aircraft,
Yeah. No, I think you. It's an experience. It's the whole thing, as far as the passenger, customer, whatever you want to call them, is concerned, doesn't begin and end on the airplane. Obviously.
Exactly. Begins with the booking even the temptation of wanting to,
and resolution. When things go, pear-shaped. Yeah, it has to be baked in at a kind of brand culture level. It's not just, train the cabin crew. It has to be across the board, which is what's so infuriating about BA, because you can see, as we've both discussed privately recently, like you can see pockets of world class.
Yes.
But it doesn't ironically, it doesn't manifest itself consistently in the airplane.
Yeah.
Or paradoxically, almost.
And the same, you remember, we discussed it many times. It seems that the social media teams seem faster and better at handling requests that if you call sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know if the same, maybe it's changed because, again, I've not called for a while. I've called for small stuff, but not like a big issue. It feels to me that, we said that many times. I used to always go on Twitter, on X, to DM them because they would solve my problem.
Yeah.
Now it seems that the teams are shared between Instagram. They're all the same, so you can query them. Hence, probably the delays I mentioned earlier, like they don't reply right away. But that's a staffing problem. That's not a quality problem because the quality when the answer is still there.
Yeah.
It's just that there's not enough people for the number of requests they have, probably.
Yeah.
But that's part of the soft product, I guess, as well, right? Because
it
if you're pissed off by the time you enter the aircraft because nothing went right, even though usually the airline doesn't own the airport. I mean, there's own the experience of the airport. So you can be pissed off for reasons that have nothing to do with the airline. But that's a whole, like you said, it's an old experience. And
absolutely.
So Martin, it's your crews can change the discussion, the conversation on a flight because you come pissed off. And again, it might be not your fault of Swiss, maybe Zurich Airport, maybe any other airport in the world where Swiss has no stake at all.
Mm-hmm.
If as soon as you enter you feel welcomed and they're well trained, it can change the conversation because
absolutely.
I forgot about this all. The number of times I can be pissed off because this dance we all do these days where they call boarding too early and you stay in the freaking jet bridge forever and you don't know why they did that because they just wanted to beat the time that they are set on your ticket. You're like, oh shit, no, or sometimes it's too hot. Sometimes as soon as you enter the aircraft and I have a nice interaction, I'm like, I forgot about it. It's already gone.
It's amazing how powerful it is.
Right? And
I wish more airlines would understand that.
Yeah,
Or frankly, just organizations. It doesn't need to be airline.
Yeah, in general. Yeah, exactly. Like a smile can change a lot. Like just this warmth of interaction. And
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we see that, you're right. We see that with BA. Sometimes there's pockets of greatness.
Yeah.
And sometimes pockets of nothingness.
Yeah.
It's
So it's very
like,
inconsistent, which is infuriating as an end user.
I cannot remember which flight, and I'll come to a few vignettes now. I had this interaction with a BA pilot that was standing in front of the door. I can't remember. It's probably in my notes somewhere, but not for today. And I remember the interaction he had with passengers. I said, okay, that's only BA can do that.
Mm.
I know that not only BA can have a pilot in front of the door, guys. What I'm saying is that the quality of that interaction, the warmth of it, it was like, when you do this, you're the best.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking, this is the best. And sometimes I don't think they don't bother, or sometimes. And that's the case for other airlines, guys. I had the same with EasyJet. EasyJet had a flight that was delayed and there was almost no communication. And there was this other flight that was delayed a few months later. Not the same route, doesn't matter. And the pilot was very informing you in a joyful and funny. There was banter in his voice. And you were like, okay, yeah, we're stuck here for another hour. But the way you presented it, now I'm like, okay, fine, I forgot about it. And I'll move on, right? So
yeah, it makes such a huge difference. So, and it doesn't cost anything either.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Since we have a little bit of time, because I'm not going to be too long on my 3 vignettes, I've chosen 3 vignettes. Let's talk 2 minutes about, I don't know if it's soft or hard product. I don't think it's either. Power banks. Do you travel with power banks, Alex?
I do. Yep.
How many power banks do you have?
I have 2. I've got one big chonky one that's 22.5 watts, 27,000 milliamp hours. And then I have a small one that's got the MagSafe charger that just sits on the back of the phone. And those 2 are the ones I travel with.
So I have the similar setup. I have a big one, which is probably from the picture you was handling it in his hand. It's probably the same one, and that I bought one day. I'd forgotten my power bank at home, and I bought it. I think at Heathrow at Dixon's or something. Way too expensive for what it is, because it was the airport. But I still use it like 7 years later, and also a second one. Emirates will now forbid you, starting October 1st, to bring 2. You will only to have 1, which freaking sucks.
Yeah.
So the story is, because you remember, that was in the life of this podcast, remember when Samsung phones were exploding?
Yes.
There were these specific messages that if you have a Samsung phone, a specific model. Yeah, or you had to turn it off or something. I don't remember. It was like this whole ordeal. And then, Samsung got his act together. Maybe it was a bad batch or something. And nothing against Samsung. And now, even these odd stories. But earlier this year, there was in Busan, Air Busan, so in South Korea. Earlier this year, there was a flight on the ground, thank God, that got fully torn down by flames. And they found out that the reason there was a power bank in an overhead bin that caught fire, and then if you look at the images, the entire top of the aircraft is basically gone, right? So they couldn't control the fire. And so, of course, these all stories came back very quickly to the news. Air Busan itself, I think, completely forbade, obviously, the bringing power banks on board. They have your screen before boarding, and only the bags. So here I'm talking cabin, of course. Cabin bags will have a tag that says power bank free, can be allowed in the aircraft. That's the most extreme way of dealing it. But others have done the same. Have you had any safety announcements about this lately?
I think on every flight I've taken in this calendar year, as a matter of course, there has been if you have a power bank that starts to overheat, or your personal electronic device, tell the crew they can't be used as a matter of course. It's now a thing. Yeah,
it wasn't last year, but now it is clearly. Mm-hmm. I think I said a few times on this year on the episodes. I think EasyJet says charging via the power bank is okay, but please monitor the temperature.
Yeah.
Lufthansa was saying charging via power bank is authorized only if it's under constant supervision. But charging power banks themselves, so using the power from the aircraft to charging a power bank, is forbidden.
Yeah.
I think the one, since we just said Southwest, I haven't flown Southwest, but I read somewhere that Southwest asks you that your power bank must be in plain sight all the time. You have to have it in front of you. You cannot.
I mean, I get it.
I get it. Yeah. And some airlines, not so many actually, I think Singapore and Scoot and I don't know, guys, you probably know because you fly a lot. They now storing the power bank in the overhead bin is forbidden. You need to have it in front of you. Again, maybe not as Southwest as in line of sight, but like maybe in the pocket or something, or like under your feet or something. But you have to have it. You cannot put it because you probably want to avoid that. It caught fire and don't realize it, and you react too late or something, right? So, well, yeah. So Emirates decided one power bank only, and it has to be so that because a lot of people reacted to that. It's always been a IATA rule, not always, but like it's not this year, that power banks have to be less than 100 watt per hour, which turns out to be exactly the level you have. I think it's 27,000 mAh or 26,000.
Yeah.
That's the maximum you can bring on board. If you want to bring more, you need the airline authorization, which probably they won't give you.
Yeah.
So you can bring that on Emirates now, but sadly not a second one, which, again, for my way of traveling sucks because I love to have two power banks. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll figure out the next time I fly. And Emirates, with others, now they say that power banks need to have the capacity rating information written on it. If there's nothing on it, they might actually confiscate it. Because
again, seems reasonable.
Yeah. And if you fly out of China, which I haven't done in a while, if you fly out of China, your power bank might be seized because China has introduced a rule. Thank God, actually, they have their own, this quality label that we have in Europe is EC, I think.
Yeah.
They've introduced CCC, that's their quality control thing. Any power bank that doesn't have the CCC will be removed before boarding. That applies to domestic flights. However, what I've read on forums, on Flyer Talk and etc., is that even though it only applies on domestic flights, the rule, we are on Chinese airport, they won't care, they will remove. And if you look at your power banks, they don't have that CCC thing. So if you ever fly to China, I better simply actually buy one from there because I don't think the CCC will appear anytime soon or maybe they will be eventually, but it's not in time yet. So guys, if you fly to China, know that your power bank might be seized. There you go.
Not ideal.
Not ideal. Since we talked about Emirates, and then I move on to my little vignettes, we have a date for the closure of Dubai Airport. They're transferring to the Dubai World. What's the name again? DWC, Dubai World. So the new terminal at Dubai World opens in 2032. I think 2030. Anyway, like in a few years. Then they transitioned. But they transition not like your father at Kaitak when let's say, let's do it. They transition over 20 years, I think. So, yes. So Dubai Airport will close, DXB, the one we know, will close in 2050. So by that time, I'll be a retiree probably, and I'm not going to see it ever again anyway. So I'll have a time to experience it again. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there you go. Okay, let's go for a few vignettes to close this show. I say vignettes because you know how it is. There's so many, you've done it the year a bit. There's so many flights that you and me do that are short haul and we don't really talk about them because they don't constitute like an entire experience, like a chapter for this podcast. And in the past, year, I've been to Madrid, I've been to Geneva, Zurich, I've been to Nice, I've been to Bologna, I've been to, et cetera, et cetera. So there's and more than that. Actually. So we never talk about it. So I said, instead of doing a big one because of the time that we have, and I wanted to do this feedback, I'll take 3 vignettes, little stories that I always wanted to say, but I never knew where to fit them.
Great.
The first one is the worst boarding ever. What was your worst boarding ever? Do you have like an experience that you remember that it was so bad that you still remember it?
I do. It was a BA flight to, I don't even remember where it was, but it was out of Heathrow and Terminal 3.
Oh.
And I can't remember. I definitely talked about it on the podcast, but it was the amount of people that had to have their bags taken away, the amount of people that were in group one, it was just a farce. The whole thing was just deplorable. Yeah. I can't remember. Again, I can picture it. I can't remember the specifics though.
No, it's fine, because I'm not I'm not saying we remember the specifics, but sometimes, and this one, it was also at Heathrow, Terminal 5, I want to say, because I didn't write it down, and I should have said this probably on flight. It doesn't matter. Terminal 5, but probably in one of the satellites, B or C. Yes. So I was flying to Madrid, and it was Terminal 5, and I'm not going to do the full story. I'm just there, and you're like, okay, let's start boarding. So first of all, I remember that boarding was written, on the screens, like we're boarding, but we're not, for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, everybody dashes to the gate, but nothing was happening. And then suddenly they decided, let's go board. So I was back then still gold on BA, which meant I was group 1 or 2, I remember 1 probably, even though I was not flying in business class or anything. And so that dance, I just said, they opened the gate. And some of these at Terminal 5, you have stairs to go down before you go to a jet bridge. Or an escalator that goes down before you go to a jet bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So, you walk there, and because I'm the first, I work, and then there's a door, and the guy tells us you need to wait. The usual stuff. Okay, I'm fine. And then they keep adding groups over groups over groups. They basically do the entire freaking boarding, Iberia, the entire freaking boarding, and everybody's on that little landing, on the stairs. Some people stuck on the escalator that is running, so they had to stop the escalator. People probably I didn't see from my perspective. People probably in the area, the check-in area on top, but past the actual. And I'm like, what's the point of sending people if the plane is not ready? And then suddenly, what happens in front of us, I can see, and that's already when most people are already like stuck. The people sitting on the stairs and everything. I see a 380 being deplaned, and people going past us. I'm like, what? So now we have to wait for like a 500 million passenger from a 380 to go, and we're still supposedly boarding. And the guy, I will say Iberia, but it's probably, of course not Iberia. It's probably like someone who works on behalf of like a handling company. I don't know which one they use. Useless. And then doesn't give any information. People start shouting. People are unhappy. Imagine there were some elderly people. We stand. I'm not kidding. We stand for 50 minutes. We were standing.
Obscene.
And I remember the guy, because he was still in front of the door, was telling people, "Come in the front." Like we were already completely not crushed. Let's not exaggerate. It's not a Tokyo Metro story, and of course, since they wanted to pile up people, they needed to make space. But there's no more space. And the elderly people, there's some people that were like, how do you deal with that? I don't know. And that's okay. People would not require assistance, just people that didn't expect to be
standing for nearly an hour. Yeah,
exactly. And I remember there was this lady. She was not elderly, but she was old. She was sitting on the stairs, and when the guy was trying to tell us to kind of make space, she's like, "I'm not moving." And I was like, people, me included, are probably, "Yeah, girl, go for it."
Yeah,
We're not
100%.
moving. At some point, you have to get this herd mentality that kind of arises. We were literally playing Lego with human beings. They were playing Lego with human beings, thinking that, or Tetris, that everybody would fit. Anyway, at some point, the guy tries to open the door. The door doesn't work. He doesn't know how to operate it clearly. And not really. I was like, I say that now with the benefit of the on the day when you're frustrated, you're like, this guy's useless. And it might be like something you say because you're frustrated. Here, however, now with the time that has passed and I'm not frustrated anymore, he didn't really know what he was doing. He was pressing buttons. The door wouldn't open. He was calling his colleagues on his walkie-talkie and how do I operate this thing? I'm like, oh my God, so we're ready to actually finally board. And it doesn't happen. Anyway, and then at some point, he does open the door, but doesn't allow us to go and says, "I need to check." And he's like talking on the walkie. And I remember that was not nice. But I said, I looked at people and said, "Let's go." We all went through and we boarded the plane.
Nice.
But then all was redeemed, not all, but it was redeemed not because of the crew, but because I didn't realize we were supposed to fly. You know how BA and Iberia are supposed to be integrated, but it doesn't really freaking work. So I had chosen an emergency exit on BA's map, which was a bit weird, but I didn't understand. But then, and I couldn't get access to my booking on Iberia. It wouldn't work for some reason. I don't remember the exact circumstance. But basically, when I entered the aircraft, I'm like, oh shit, it's a 350. 900, and it was probably doing, the first, it was brand new, so they were doing these training.
Oh, no.
So suddenly you're like, oh, wow. So I'm super happy because I'm at the 350-900, and my seat was still an emergency exit, but I was in premium economy. So I got to try premium economy of Iberia, and then it was pretty cool. I cannot say, guys, how is the leg room and everything. It is not the point of this little story. That was just a boarding was the point. Because when you are like in the emergency exit, you had the door in front of you. So my leg room was infinite. And actually, that was also the boarding door. So I saw all the frustrated people getting, and I was just basically, I entered the aircraft and I said, oh, that's my seat. And I sat there. And I was waiting for the people to board forever. I hadn't realized before that there was a whole 350 amount of people ready to board and waiting for 50 minutes. I thought it was only like a 321 amount. So that was quite a thing. But anyway, it was a nice seat. It was really, really nice. You could see that the crew was rough around the edges, not because they're not good crew, but because they were still finding their marks.
Yeah.
And trying to make it work. But it was really fun. And there was these little... since you mentioned that in your Turkish flight, these little wings on the side of your head that you can expand a bit for privacy. Don't really more privacy, but anyway. But because we usually talk about how a pursuer comes to you to say hello. I mean, of course, I was still gold. I will say I'm silver. No, I was silver. Yeah, I was silver. We're taxiing. We're about to get to the freaking, the holding spot to enter the runway. The pursuer, the head of cabin, I know you call them at Iberia, come and greets me and says a whole welcome message. I'm like, oh, nice. I didn't need that at all. I don't. But I noticed it. And it was really like at a point where he probably had better things to do. So that was kind of nice.
That's good.
Yeah, that was good. So it was, it was a nice flight, and because you said that you saw this 380 doing this go around at landing at Madrid, I saw the Beluga.
Oh wow, cool!
But I missed its landing because clearly it had just landed, but it was taxiing to its cargo location, I guess. Oh my God, this thing is so big.
Yeah, that's a neat looking airplane.
Yeah, it is, right? I won't comment on the rest because, as we all know, T4S at Madrid is in like Germany and T4 is in the Canary Islands. The E-gates are stupid, but I still kind of have a soft spot for T4 and the architecture of E-bit.
It's very beautiful.
That. Yeah, exactly. The grandeur of it. I will mention that when I went there, they had renewed, because I used to go there quite a lot, as you know, but hadn't been for a while. The Velasquez Lounge, which is the lounge at T4S, has been revamped, and it's pretty nice.
It is good,
And it has the views. Right? Yeah, you can see. And sometimes you also see like these Latin American airlines you've never heard of. You're like, what is this guy? What is this guy? Oh, I want to say, by the way, since looking weird airlines, not weird, but stuff unusual. Have you seen this plane? It's always, I think it's a 330 Neo probably. Do you know Air Peace?
Yes. The Nigerian one.
Yeah, it's always there at Gatwick, and it's so cool, delivery.
Yeah.
It looks like I don't know if it's a wavy thing. It looks like almost like I don't know if it's a dolphin or something. It's really nice. So that's also the kind of thing that you can see at Madrid. So yeah, that was it. Worst ever boarding story, but then trying the premium economy from Iberia, which is, I would actually think I would recommend it, though I didn't try the food and everything. The crew, I cannot say more, but it was nice. The crew was probably not as neat as BA. That's what I will say. It was more discombobulated. Second story, it's about a church. But before that, do you take, or do people ask you at security to take your passport with you? So, sometimes when there's a tray, sometimes I put my passport as with everything else, and they hand me back my passport, as in take it with you. Does that happen still often to you or not?
Usually my passport is in a pocket somewhere. The bag, but the times where I've put it in a tray, I have had instances where they've said, no, hang on to it.
Yes. Yeah. So here I'm saying, It also happens less and less because we have mobile boarding. Whereas here I'm mentioning mostly the times when you have your boarding pass in the. So that the reason you had it, they would. So I'm like you. Usually I don't, but sometimes I just had it, especially when I go fast and it's in my back pocket or somewhere. I just put it and they hand it back to me. Sometimes they don't. The reason I say that, so I'm at Gatwick. I might have hinted at the story already. Doesn't really matter, but I'm at Gatwick and with my passport, and I go through these new body check things when you have to be in a Superman stance to get scanned, and they said, "You have something on you." I'm like, "Yes, my passport," and hand it over, and you shouldn't have it with you. I'm like, "Well, what?" So you really need to have nothing with you. So she was very kind. She actually handed the person who was operating the machine. She held to my passport when I was being scanned. It was not the first time. So now I didn't learn my lesson, because a few months ago, also at Gatwick, also at these Superman shaped things. I mean, I say Superman because you need to have your legs a little bit.
It's very uncomfortable. Yeah,
you're about to. If you were Superman, you would be about to launch in the air, basically.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just wanted you to look like a plane. This is why they chose that, right? So I had a handkerchief in one of my pockets, and it's not thick or anything, right?
Yeah, that showed up.
And they showed up. They said, "You have something in your pockets?" And at first I said no, but then I said, if they see it, they must have. So I said, "Can I?" And I checked, and I was like, "You have a coin I forgot or something?" And there was this handkerchief. I said, "No, you're not supposed to have it." I'm like, "What's a handkerchief?"
But how does it differentiate between your jeans and your? That's interesting.
Beats me. Maybe it was a different material. Maybe it was thicker. I don't know. But they saw it. That was really impressive, actually. So, guys, these new machines don't have anything. Be naked. No, maybe not.
Right.
So what I said was about the church is because at that time it was a flight I went through to Geneva. It was Paolo, whom you met, who has been also on this podcast as a guest co-host. Had never seen Geneva, so we decided to go for the Swiss National Day to do the full kind of Swiss experience. So we first went to Gruyère, which is very famously known for its cheese and its fondue. We had a fondue on the first August. Fondue in August might not sound cool because it's very hot, but actually it's really nice. That's also Gruyère. That's also where they're, since I mentioned Alien, H.R. Giger Museum is, by the way, guys. If you ever want to visit it, it's so you can have a fondue and then visit some aliens. And then I gave him the tour of that I gave you for Attaché. So similar small tour just for him. For him, it was just one day. So just visiting the sites, as you know, Alex, because now you've been. There's not a lot of things to see in Geneva. And when we arrive at the Saint-Pierre Cathedral, I'm in front of it, about to enter, and I'm like, I know this guy. There's this person, there's 3 people, there's 1 lady and 2 guys, and like, I know this guy. And as soon as I enter into the church, I'm like, yeah, I know, this is not Nonstop Dan.
Oh.
And he's the only person I still watch airline reviews of anymore. I got really tired of a lot of these influencers that really get on my nerves. And this one, I'm not... If you ever listen to it, I don't know if you ever will. I don't watch all of your videos, but I will say that I've watched some of them, and they are very fair.
Yeah,
and,
I agree.
So I just, because we're in a church, I don't. Why you? Because you're a famous influencer, Alex. How if I didn't know you, and I saw you in a church, and I want to say hi, what would you do you have crazy stories of people coming and don't care about the context, or people like just say hi? I didn't know I wanted to say something because I'm like, it's an AvGeek. I want to, but I'm in a church. So I basically, to cut the story short, my own side of the story, I just said, hi, really cool. That's it. That lasted for exactly 2.5 seconds. But I don't know. I hate to go like, oh, I love your movies. That kind of line.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I've had it a few times around the world. I think the nicest one I ever had was I was flying back from Japan, and a guy, I was in my seat, and the guy was walking down the aisle to board, and he kind of bumped me on the shoulder and he said, "I'm on this trip because of you." And I really appreciated it. That was the nicest one. But the fact that people come up to me at all is kind of a trip. So I do appreciate it. But yeah, you're right. I think the context is everything, isn't it? Or you know.
And maybe I was like, it's a church. I didn't want to go, hey, man, this is so cool to see you.
No,
Let's talk about
I think you made a good choice.
Oh, Mike. So anyway, it was a fun, and again, it was immense because I don't really watch a lot of YouTube. I watch random stuff on YouTube when I want to learn about something, but I don't really follow a lot of channels besides yours, of course. So I don't have this member, but this face immediately was like, and Paolo was like, so I show him, I went on this YouTube profile. I was like, this is the same guy? Like, yeah, it's the same guy. I'm like, yeah, it's that same, I'm sure. Anyway, so hi, Dan, or if you ever listen to this, probably not ever. I think he has a podcast, by the way, with this other industry guy. Anyway, just look it up, guys. I don't remember the name. I'm not listening to it. Maybe it's good. And Geneva, I need to say this. Geneva's security is still But I learned something, Alex. I learned that the new machines, so Geneva, you remember Geneva security? It is at the first floor. So you're the ground floor, you go up.
Yes.
And then you have a line of, that bit of the airport was made, when was it opened? That's maybe 50s, I want to say. This is the part of the old airport that has been expanded over. It's not a big airport, guys, but it's been expanded. The new machines are too heavy for the structure of the building.
Oh, no.
So they have two.
Didn't Gatwick have that issue too?
Yeah, but Gatwick, isn't that on the... Is that on... which floor are we when we clear security, actually? I'm not even sure.
I think you're up because arrivals is below.
Aha.
I think. I can't remember, but I think I felt like maybe Gatwick had some kind of issue like this.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe 10 years ago or something. I don't remember.
So maybe, there's two new machines on the side of Geneva security because probably there's like a column or something, and that's that can get the weight of these machines.
Jeez.
So we'll have to wait. They'll probably figure it out. I'm not saying it here, but the security is and the other thing that they should figure out is, and because Paolo went through it, the whole passport control thing to get out of Schengen. Okay, so we were not lucky because it was Air China and Delta on the way in. So there was a huge queue, and I went directly because for once, and that's what I want to point it out, it's rare for once e-gates were open because Geneva doesn't always open the e-gates. But the queue was really long. It was the whole terminal long. On the way out, there was Saudi, Qatar, Emirates, and I'm missing one. So that secure. So basically, everybody is not part of, doesn't have a European passport. So the non-e-gates were like just so, they need to figure something out because it's really, really, really bad. But anyway, that's my comment. Especially, security needs to be better. If I have to choose one improvement, security or passport control, Geneva, get your act together for security. Third story, that one time I flew, this still in Switzerland, I flew from Zurich to Heathrow. That's the flight I referred with Martin. They are private cook. And being a private cook has something to do with that story, actually. Mm-hmm. So I went there to see friends. We did walks in the Grison. Grison is Graubünden, is this very east of Switzerland. I was more than 2,000 meters high. Went for hiking. I hate that term, hiking. Walks, guys, it's walking. Incredible. It was, there's I know it's stupid because I'm a geek. You are a bit too, or maybe I'm a dork. 5G in that tiny restaurant having some, cold cuts and cheese splatter. 5G was 680 down. And I was like, I don't get that in London, man.
No.
Anywhere.
That's nuts.
There's more people in London. I get it, but more density. But man, I was like, oh my God. Alex, the reason I mentioned these walks is that there's one thing, because you love your transportation like I do probably. Maybe I love my planes, but also love my trains. I love all type of transportation infrastructure. There's this, it's called the Flem Express. So it's next to Lux. Lux is a place I hadn't seen in 40 years. The last time I was there, 40 years ago. Maybe I was 11, so less than 40 years ago. And Flem's is on the top, right? So it's next to each other. And they have it's a mountain cable car. But it's one of these new. It just had opened. It has multiple stops, multiple layovers, and it even changes. It's not that there are stops. In these stops, you can go multiple directions.
Oh, wow.
So you know how these modern elevators work when you have to choose your floor before you enter the
board.
elevator.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the same. You choose your destination. It opens you the one you need to, and then, the elevation, the mountain cable cars. So you just go up. But when you get to these stations, you're certainly tracked in the left and right, and you go around, and then you go in another direction. It's absolutely incredible.
Wow,
and because it's brand new, it looks
that.
so futuristic, man. You would. That's also a set for a sci-fi movie. You need to try that, not only for the walks, but for that. Anyway, back at Zurich, which is still seeing a lot of improvement works. I had an extra item in my backpack, in my small backpack. So all the travels I do, as you know, guys, I have to do with backpack. I have either one that looks like a carry-on, but it's basically on me, which for my long flights. But for short flights, I really have a simple, 2-3 days, carry nothing, unless it's work or a wedding or whatever. But usually I have nothing. That's I'm now reading Reddit, the subreddit One Bag. I'm trying to reduce because I don't want to check anything in ever, and I became like a monk about my backpack. But I know that you like your cooking. I'm not the greatest cook. You are a very good cook.
Oh, no.
No, you are. I always wanted, and it's been a rabbit hole of research, stainless steel pans. I wanted to get rid of my polymer stuff, the Teflon, whatever stuff. And I really wanted high quality stainless steel pans, and I didn't know what to do. And because, it's a rabbit hole of research and people telling you on Reddit and all elsewhere that this brand is better. I'm like, I am. So I procrastinated for a while. Turns out that the friend I was staying at, she's just switched jobs, and I'm not going to mention the name because of privacy, but she works for a very, very well-known cookware brand, very high-end as well. And she said, well, I'll give you a great deal if you want them. So like, oh, yeah, of course. So I had 3 stainless steel pans in my backpack. The big one just, the top, the handle just extruded. And I was like, that must go through security, right? I mean, it's not a restricted item that I know of, don't you think, right? Have you?
I've never tried.
No, but I mean, look, I was thinking, I'm like, I should be able to.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Right. I once actually at Geneva, transported a Mac Pro in my backpack, so it's possible they were looking at what that. You remember the old one,
Yeah, I got one on my floor here.
Yeah,
the trash can.
The trash can. That's the term I was looking for. So I was like, well, there's nothing that precludes me from bringing a frying pan. Of course, I'm thinking maybe I can hit someone with it. It's pretty, hefty things, right? But I'm like, it's not on the restricted list of items you can bring. I'm like, whatever, I'll bring them with me. I didn't want to, I just had a backpack. It was pretty empty, and I didn't want to check a backpack. So I go to security with kind of, I was on, maybe I'm just too confident in myself. I was like, it's fine. Of course, I didn't have a doubt, but you never know. So I go and my bag, of course, goes for secondary at the security, obviously. I'm already smiling because I'm like, yeah, well, of course, I knew that. The dude arrives, tall, Swiss-German, middle-aged guy, walking with my bag. And I can see, that's a thing I can see at Zurich. You can often see the X-ray, if you want, the stuff. And I can see my bag clearly, the 3, pans laid out on top of each other, like, and in the most, pun intended here, the most deadpan tone, the dude with his lovely Swiss-German accent goes, "You want to cook in the plane? You don't like the food of the airline?" And I burst out laughing. And, very funny, but stays, that's why I say deadpan. He stays super serious. And like, well, I don't know what to answer. I start laughing. And then he says, "Is that a gift for your wife?" And he doesn't let me answer. He says, "You know that offering cookware can send the wrong signal. We live in a modern world." And I'm laughing, and I had to convince him that, no. I chose the pan with her together. A better half, we chose the pan, and I was the one, because she was going to Geneva, I was the one carrying them. But the whole point, basically, yeah, So, guys, if you ever want to travel with stainless steel pans, you can as a carry-on item. There you go.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
You want to? I'm not, because I could, but I don't want. I could do the Swiss German accent when he did that. That made it even more funny. But I was like, oh my God, you want to cook in a plane? I didn't expect that.
That's so good.
Amazing. Oh, that was amazing. And I flew 220, 300 back, which is the benefits of flying Swiss. God, I love this plane, man.
Me too. I don't get to fly nearly enough.
Yeah, and I was in economy, but emergency exit meant that I was in the, it's 2-3, so I was on the 2-bit. So you almost feel like in business class when you're there. It's beautiful. And I noticed, last comment, and then I think it's almost the end of the podcast, but I noticed there was on the top on the panel, when all the aircraft, but here on the 220, there's like the little, not smoking, the seatbelt sign.
Yeah.
And the usual, the calling for the call button and the lights. And there's an appendix. There's an extra stuff there. And I'm like, what is it? And I'm still alone. I ended up being alone. So I had the 2 seats for me. And I'm using my the flashlight on my phone to try to, because it's translucent. And I'm like, is it an extra light? Is that a camera? And I thought it was a camera. And actually, I think I'm pretty stupid. I'm sure it's an extra light that lights up the emergency exit. If there's no. That's clever, actually.
Yeah,
probably all
clever.
All the aircrafts have that, but
just a little bit more conspicuous.
And I got last anecdote on that flight. I got the most precise spiel about emergency exit I ever had. You fly probably also emergency exit from time to time. You get the usual spiel. Sometimes it's long. Sometimes it's never, for me. It's I used to it, so I'm politely listen. I do listen because I'm actually listening. If there's something I need to know,
for that, 100%.
Yeah, I don't want to be the guy like I fly, or I'm a freaking flyer. I don't need to listen. So I do.
Yeah,
and actually,
no.
And actually read the leaflet and actually even look at, because I'm usually at the actual window. So I would be the guy opening the thing. So I usually also read how to actually open, because on the 220, it's slightly different than the 320, for instance, right? So I want to be able to do that. But she goes in a very, also Swiss German, it was a very friendly, not like a harsh tone, but kind of very telling you, okay, these are your orders for the flight. And she says, you are responsible for the door on takeoff and landing. It's really easy to open the door, remove the white cover, and pull the latch and on. Okay, until now it's fine. You only do it on my signal. I'll be sat in the front. One important thing, if you see fire and if it's remote, and she shows me like the wing, remote on the wing, at the end of the wing, you can open it. However, if it's close to the window, do not open it, even if I told you to do it with my signal. And I was like, that was longer than I would. Yeah. I was surprised. I never got that level of detail. Sorry, what did you say?
Good advice.
No, right, of course. We know that if there's fire, you're not supposed to open, but usually it's never part of the spiel.
Yeah.
Underwater. Let's go. What was that? Wasn't it like airport? You remember these famous movies from the 70s of which airline, airline is, what's the name, airline?
I just want to tell you about
This.
good luck.
Oh, yeah.
The airport was the original actual, is one of them, they're underwater.
Yeah, I remember
and they survive.
That.
And they survive. So do not open the door. Alex is right. Do not open the, there you go. So many other flights. For instance, I went to Prague 2 weeks ago, but I think I'll keep it for another episode because maybe it actually requires a bigger story. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Unless you have anything you want to add.
No, I think next time we need to talk about global airlines.
Oh, yeah, my God. Are they still a thing?
I don't even know. I think I want to look into it a little bit more.
Yeah, we should actually. That's not a bad idea. Yeah, would you have flown them?
No.
No, I'm saying here more as if it's a very cheap ticket and no, really. Why?
The whole thing
don't have
just
to
is
answer
iffy to me. I think we're going to learn a lot more about that whole boondoggle soon.
Well, I don't know, but I have the same feeling that there's something. Yeah, I don't know. It feels unserious, and again, I'm sure some people within the company were serious. Some people were hired to do a good job. So really, I'm not here, painting with a broad brush. But it felt a bit, and I think you're the same. We're the kind of people we're celebrating new airlines, especially transatlantic, where there's more competition. When Norse came, we were thinking about that. When the other guys that disappeared now, Norwegian, were there, we were like, we like to have competition. We like to have new products to try, especially closer to home for us. So we're not like anti, but this whole thing felt weird.
Yeah, it really did. It really did. So I don't know what's going on there, but I want to dig into it.
Yeah, well, we'll do that in a forthcoming podcast. I'll put the music in a low. Which one is this one? What are your next flight, Alex? You know?
I'm going to Spain very briefly next month.
Nice.
Just I'm flying in and out of Barcelona, but I'm going about 2 hours south, and then nothing else on the cards at the moment.
I'm going to interrupt the music because I forgot to ask you about something when I said Geneva, and we promised it at the top of the show. F me. I in my notes I like ask Alex now that I've done Geneva, and I moved on, and I'll go back to the music as I promised. So when I'm in Geneva with Paolo, when I see that nonstop Dan dude, suddenly you message me. What happened?
Well, I was in Greece with my kids, and we were coming back from Rhodes Airport, by the way, which is run by Fraport, your favorite people.
Yeah, I know a lot of airports in a lot of airports actually in Greece are run by Fraport, and in that side of things, they run them well.
Yeah, it's that the amount of traffic that airport can handle is extraordinary. And we were flying on EasyJet, who were excellent on the way out and excellent on the way back to Gatwick. And we had a pilot who gave us frequent updates. I think just an enthusiast. He's one of those pilots who is like, "Isn't this amazing? Look, really thorough brief before departure up at the top of cruise." He was like, this is happening. And then maybe every maybe even half an hour he was coming on and say, "If you look out your left, you'll see this, and we're going to see that, and it's great, and here's what's going to happen." And then, kids are all settled in. They've got their devices. I'm kind of just making sure they're all happy and healthy and all that. And then he comes on again. I'm like, "Okay, what's happening now?" He's like, "Well, gang, so there's been a bit of an issue at London, and their radar has failed, so they're not accepting anybody right now. And more importantly, France is not allowing anybody to come into their airspace that's going to London because they don't know what to do with them at the moment. So we're going to Geneva right now." So we'll be landing in about 40 minutes, and I'll do my best to tell you what's going to happen after that. And, as he's saying that, the throttles come back, and we land. And as soon as we land at Geneva, I'm like trying to figure out what's going on. And I message you, and sure enough, there was a radar failure at London.
Wow.
And so we come in and we taxi. You'll know exactly where I mean. There's the bit at Geneva where it's this sort of rotunda of gates where you have to go. Yes. You go downstairs and you come up into this rotunda of maybe 4 gates. We were parked not at those gates, but just right next to them, just on the tarmac there.
Wow.
And maybe he's trying to get us information. He's trying to call in and figure out what's going on and how long this is going to take.
It was EasyJet, right?
It was EasyJet, and he's like, you'll be able to get off. And then he said, "No, hold on a second." The captain comes back on and says, "Okay, they've opened up London airspace. Sit down and let's get going." And the crew were coming back and forth with waters. They were really, really taking care of everybody. The flight deck crew were like, "Hey, if anybody wants to come up and see the cockpit,
nice.
We can. You'll have to forgive us if we need to jump on the radio. We're working with our dispatchers. They've opened up airspace, and now we have to figure out where we are in the queue because there's been lots of holes. There's been lots of diversions, but we're ready to go. We've told them we're ready to go. So let's just hope." And then sure enough, the seatbelt signs come on. There's a cheer in the cabin, and we take off again. And I think we were probably on the ground in Geneva for about an hour or so.
That was fast, actually. Wow.
Yeah,
That's nice.
because I was like making all these arrangements for
Yeah, I
the
know.
kids because they had. My son was going to Barcelona
I was
the
in
next day.
Geneva. I was thinking, oh, well, maybe we'll meet. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
the kids, of course. Yeah. Oh,
They
yeah.
handled it. So we were delayed ultimately about 2 hours just by the time we'd taxied, shut down, all of that stuff. But they EasyJet handled a situation that was entirely out of their control really, really well. It was very impressive. Very, very impressive. So I haven't had a diversion for that kind of reason ever. I don't think, not that I can recall. I've had them for weather, but not for a radar failure, for which NATS, the air traffic service here, got a lot of flack, especially from the low-cost carriers who said, basically, get your shit together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit happens. It
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
But the way...
all's well that ends well.
Yeah. Again, back to that customer service. The fact that he was he a Hito pilot, we said. The fact that he was updating you and being, like you said, an enthusiast from the start is great, because that means you know what to expect, and like you can set your expectations. Oh, okay, the radar has failed. And then, and having like, we don't know, or maybe an hour, you set your expectations. Okay, no need to get all upset. It's out of our control.
Yeah, exactly. There was I said to the kids were happy. We had batteries and everything, and
Sea Airlines, we need our power banks.
We do, yes. Well, you do not want 3 tired, bored kids. But they handled it brilliantly. They handled it.
Since the summer, did he open the door at all for air?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that's how it should be. That's nice. That's see?
Yeah.
Another good point for EasyJet. Okay, let's go back to the music. I don't know if he will launch the music midway, if we'll start over. Let's see. Well, he started over. So.
Fair enough.
So you said you were going to Spain. Which part of Spain are you going to?
I'm flying into Barcelona, and then it's about 2 hours south.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be very close to you, probably not at the same time, because I'm going next week. Yeah, next week I'm going to Palma. For the first time. Time, I've been to Ibiza before. I've been to, of course, Barcelona, and I've been to other places south and north of Barcelona, all that through the Barcelona airport, but I've never been to Palma de Mallorca. So let's see. Maybe since I don't think I've ever done the Ibiza airport in this show, maybe I've done. I forgot about it. I could do a double trouble.
There you go.
And do like all these airports compare. And then a big one, but the destination, I won't reveal it. It's going to be maybe for our next episode, maybe not.
Excited to hear about it.
Yeah, surprise. New destination, new airline-ish, and for nearly 3 weeks. So, we're not going to probably record before October. So that's why we wanted to give you this one, and maybe more potentially good stuff later on. We'll see, but that's for another time. So, Alex, have a great September, and happy flying, everyone.
Safe travels, guys.